proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble. Ground forms up under his feet as it pointing the way. He don't stop to wonder why. Finds his lifelong friend just lying in the road. Well, it's a touching reunion. He sees what's left of the rippling walls, years of work undone in an instant, in the calamity. That a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a gas fella, forced out from underground. Kid pops him good. Fella got a piece of him, though. Kid just rages for a while. An old repeater falls out of the sky. Ain't a gift from the gods, but it'll have to do. Gotta hold her still to spin up the chamber. Kid's worked up quite a thirst by now, so that fountain looks real inviting. Sometimes you just need a drink. A school of squirts tunnels up around him. Must have fled here from the mines. He sets foot inside one of Zealandia's famous watering holes. Inside's old Rondi, the bartender. The calamity got him before his drinking did. Rondi always wanted his ashes scattered here. Then Kid finds his trusty shield. But just as he's getting a handle on it, the security takes him for a petty thief. Special delivery. Gas fellas. Windbags start turning up for last call. More squirts start coming out of the woodwork. A big old fella pops out in front of the kid. Kid sees the way to the Bastion out the window. It's a bit of a drop. He gets a good look at things on his way down. He lands on top of a breaker's bow, and it ain't broke. Kid spies a good perch for some target practice. Wasn't long before the kid could loose an arrow, strong and true. Good news is the emergency defenses still work. Bad news is they're aiming for the kid. Picks up a few pointers from a dusty old tome. back at you. He finds the distillery, right next to the arsenal. Tough part of town. One sip of the spirits in that distillery, and the kid'll feel like a new man. The arsenal's where the kid can pick the best tools for the job. Some of them squirts birthing like crazy in a couple of corn bins. He's a mighty fast learner. And then he falls to his death. I'm just fooling. Ferry barge sends the kid on his way. The Bastion's real close now. Takes a chunk of alloy. Smell of barley and spoiled blueberries fills the air. Scumbags. Kid maybe shouldn't have done what he just did. Robs a scumbag of his last meal. Kid puts him out of his misery. Finds the core to the wharf district. He steals the city's heart. Might as well. See, that core kid took was the only thing making this particular rock stay afloat. Kid just keeps running. Somersaulting like crazy. At last, the skyway's in sight. Whisks him where it needs to go. Now the kid sees something stranger still. His mind races. Did anybody else survive? Sure enough, he finds another. He finds me. We talk for a spell. There's a bit of the Bastion's power in that crest, enough to point the way to the cores. All I tell him is to set that core of his on the monument there, then watch. And just like that, the Bastion comes alive. Starts growing again, growing stronger. Kid's gotta put its power to good use. Now the Bastion can send him even farther into the wild unknown. Kid ponders what to build. Makes time to sample spirits from my personal supply. Fetching fizz is like a mouthful of nails, but the benefits are worth it. The Skyway. Now the kid can ride the wind to distant lands. Now he lands at the intersection between bad and wrong. Ought to be a core down one of these twisted streets. But which one? He heads for the squirt steps. Won't be no field trip this time. Hopes he'll never see one again. They say even the most rambunctious squirts can be tamed. Squirts don't make the best of friends, but they can be useful in a pinch. No sign of the core here. At least the kid got something for his trouble. Them squirts just don't know when to quit. Scumbag can digest just about anything. Except for this. It's quick for slicing and light enough to throw. He heads for the biggest dump in town, Scumbag Alley. Some scumbag still feeding off the city's own trash. And there he is, the oldest scumbag of them all, Gershel. The calamity ain't done much for Gershel's sunny disposition. Kid cuts up Gershel like a vine apple. Old Scumbag didn't feel a thing. No core, no surprise. Likely gas fellas are hiding it from him. He heads for the east side, where windbags used to keep the local forge. Inside the forge, Kid can fine-tune those instruments of his. The little Zolwood oil and that blade shines like a light. Core ain't here neither, so he's gotta guess again. Odd place to find the likes of Percy the Snitch. Up north is where the gas fella foreman used to live, tending to his flock. Know why gas fellas all dress alike? Kids wondering the same thing. And there it is, but it's locked down tight in an alloy cage. Blustery old foreman's keeping his fellas in check, almost like he's showboating for the crowd. And now there's a new marshal in town. He hears the whole place groan, but it's too tough to fall. Kid's ready to go, and his ticket out's right where he started. comes back, just like I knew he would. The core hums in his pack. The monument's calling for it. The windbags used to be alright, then the calamity took the floor out from under him. Kid does it again. Only fair he decides what we build next. The Bastion's a place of peace, but we can hold our own if we have to. The repeater and machete, favorite choices of the Ura hunters we once fought. Picked up traces of other cores while the kid was out. Couples used to walk the sundown path. Kid ain't here for pleasure though. But then, somebody gets to the core before the kid. The floor starts giving way under the lightest step. A single panic squirt could bring the whole place down. Fragments of the old world rain from the sky. Well, the path ain't exactly open to visitors no more. Stray valuables are lying everywhere. Kid thinks twice about risking his hide for him, though. Security's all fired up. See, the path was intended for leisurely strolling and such. Not so much for noise and tomfoolery. Bridges link the path together. One of them bridges whips the kid along. Quick and careful's the only way to go. But calamity changed everything, even where the wind blows. Well, if we mastered the winds in the old days, we can do it again. But the question is, who else could have taken the core? Well, ain't no survivor stole the thing. Scumbag ate it by mistake. Tough break. Unlike the kid, that core ain't coming back. No, they used to ship live munitions down the path. He's wise to toss those things plenty far away. Even gas fellas need some shut-eye from time to time. They get real cranky when you wake them up. In all this toil, Kid keeps coming back to an overwhelming question. Who else could have survived the calamity? So he didn't find a core that time, but that ain't about to stop us. In better days, the melting pot was sealed tighter than the skin on a squirt. Of all the plans to survive the calamity, it had to be stab weeds. Blasted things hurt like a broken heart. If there's a core, he figures it ought to be deeper down. The core's stuck inside one of those fancy cages. Some of the stuff lying around is downright dangerous. He throws a switch. Now what could possibly go wrong? Quite a bit, as it turns out. The cage starts lifting from the core ever so slow. All Kid can do is wait. Shipments start falling in. Not every squirt's born bad. Some spring to the kid's defense. Judging by the movement of the cage, it's gonna take a little while. Scumbags don't take kindly to interlopers. Even some gas fellas take his corner. Heard he popped that mean old foreman. At this rate, maybe 5 more minutes, maybe 30, hard to tell. Squirts get real territorial around the core. Then a shipment of free samples shows up. It ain't all bad, as the kid finds some spices from the motherland, tax-free. One thing's for sure, that cage is awful heavy. Troublesome scene, to be sure. A few moments left, and the core goes free. 10, 9, 8, 7, give or take a few seconds. Finally, the core's within reach. And done. He's got it. Just gotta get to the nearest barge. I still remember the look on his face after that one. The old world's finished, but the new world's just getting started. A lot of things need fixing up in this world, and we can start right here. Turns out those old bones still have some spark in them. Folks voyaged across the boundless sea to found Caelondia. It was good living here for a while. Squirt cider will toughen you right up. Too bad about the musty aftertaste. The dead welcome him with open arms. The calamity took everybody after all. Kid sees it plain, frozen faces all around. He don't much care to see him. Not like this. These folks never saw the calamity coming, but someone did. Someone close. Someone who ain't like Mr. Beckley and his kindly wife. It was someone like him. Kid sees him there agape, in the flesh. Gets a snag or two trying to get to him. He ain't about to stop, no matter what. He's got so many questions after all. Just ain't got time for answers. The Thunder brothers didn't make it. They never saw what it was like beyond the walls. Nordy the bird boy didn't make it. The Jawsons, they didn't make it. Grady Sr., Grady Jr., they didn't make it. But him, he survived. Kid finds proof enough that man ain't from around here. Just think, without that man, we wouldn't be here right now, would we? The Corps survived as well. Kid does what he has to do. And then, what do you say to a man who's seen too much? Kid hasn't a clue, but he says this. We have to go. Please. He's a proper gentleman, that man. His name is Zulf. No hiding he's an Ura. Folks like him ain't never been a common sight in Caelondia. He's relieved to see a living face or two. The kid and I introduce ourselves in kind. Both to him and to each other for the first time. For Zulf, Caelondia was like a second home. He's real worried about his first home, too. Far to the east. He was born in the Tazal terminals. The Ura sent him on a mission of peace to our city, and he's lived here ever since. We fought the Ura decades ago, but that was then. Things are different between us now. The Corps, they remember. That's why this place is coming together. That's why things are gonna be all right. Well, look what we have here. The memorial. Here, a kid can pay respect to the old world and earn it in kind. The valediction. Just another one of my sketches. Nothing more. Words can't express what happened, but they're all I got. We tracked down a couple more Corps near the edge of the city. No use praying to the gods these days. No time for it either. Folks used to make pilgrimage here to pay their respects to Pith, the bull. Well, the gods are long gone now, and the orchard core is long gone too. Seems Pith ain't much of a watchdog. The gods don't care about trinkets, but the kid ain't no god. Pith stood for something once. Something real. In time, though, the bull stopped being a symbol and started being decoration. Pith makes a decent scarecrow, at least. Then Pith lights up like a rodeo. Ain't easy punching through his hide. Kid breaks him to bits. Must have been guarding that shrine. So what'll it be? Invoke the gods? Or tell them off? Kid don't need favors from the likes of Pith. Well, if the gods are alive, they must be plenty sore. Popping windbags is hard enough. No need to get the gods involved. Things might have gone worse if Kid tampered with that shrine. Kid ain't found a core, but at least he found Zolf's precious shrine. Pith Orchard. Place is a dead end in more ways than one. Now we can build a shrine of our own, though I got some alternatives in mind. Zolf doesn't touch the thing. Says the god of commotion is no children's toy. The Ura feared the gods. We turned them into toys, put their faces on our walls. There's only one way in the Cinder Brick Fort. The hard way. Sure, the city marshals may be gone, but now the fort's crawling with windbags. The calamity was mercy for normal folks. Windbags ain't so lucky. But windbags young and old keep fighting for the fort. Kid can't hardly tell up from down after a while. Windbags ain't much different from normal folks. All they want's a warm place to stay and a decent meal. The Calamity drove the Windbags topside. A lot of them wound up here in this very fort. Could have been minding the business underground like in the old days. The thing the Windbags don't know, kids fresh out of health tonics. Windbags can't use the marshal supplies, but the kids sure can. As for the Windbags, Cinder Brick gave them enough heat and metal to munch on for a while. Well, the fort ain't theirs by right. So many of those sorry things holed up inside that old fort. Kids blasting everything in sight with that newfangled musket. Times like this, kids glad he packed trip mines. Security's plain gone haywire. Windbags gummed up the works. Kid ain't afraid of getting burned. They trapped the kid in the middle of the fort's parade grounds. Then they bring out Glutus and Glandon and all their scumbag uncles. Kid takes down Glutus. Or maybe it was Glandon. They got something to gain, and only their sorry hides to lose. The other big fella soon joins his brother, wherever they are now. The Windbags finally get the message. dream of getting a marshal's badge, but not like this. The Skyway's a welcome sight after all that. And now ain't nothing left for nobody down at Cinderbrick Fort. Kid shows up just as Zulf's telling me about his own journey to the city. Seems the only thing the Calamity saved for Zulf was his smoking pipe. The marshals seem like good men, he says. They treated him with dignity. Zulf brought his antique smoking pipe all the way from the terminals. Zulf's travels ain't much compared to what the kids had to go through for all this. The lost and found. Here, Kid takes fragments of the old world and makes them whole again. Even since the Ura surrendered to us, the marshals kept a wary eye on him. Kid's ready to get real personal with hammer and musket in hand. Cinderbrick stout sure goes down smooth, then stays in your gut like a rock. The Langston River flowed free and wild till the Calamity drank it all up. Maybe all that water just grew wings and flew off. Riverbanks swarming with windbags. They're so bent on finding the core, they hardly notice the kid. Lucky for him, a certain famous ferry barge is still afloat. Weepin' Nellie. She sent some squirts crying home as she leaves port. Maybe Nellie knows the way to the core. Maybe she can slip right past all the clamor on the coast. Or maybe not. The security skiff pulls up portside. Nellie's just another windbag to those guns. Just then, the windbags notice who she's sailing with. They're pretty steamed about what happened at Cinderbrick. They try to cut her off. They try to slow her down. They try to knock her out. Kid almost falls again. Well, Weepin' Nellie tries harder. Try as she might, though, she hits a snag. Kid's gotta help her get untangled. Favors for favors. At least she picked a good spot for a break, 'cause the core's right there. Then the kid hears an unusual sound, like 100 flapping wings. Hackers. They had their own eyes on the core, but why? Well, Kid ain't got time to think it over just yet. He finds Weeping Nellie raring to go. Turns out she's got a special surprise for when the waters get rough. She's gonna need a little help with all them peckers. Crafty things think they're king of the roost now. Rest of us only wish we could fly in times like these. Security skiffs keep on coming starboard side. Don't seem to care what they shoot, as long as they hit something. Windbags get an even better idea. They aim to smash Weeping Nellie to splinters. Kid boards one of them skiffs like some kind of Ceylandian privateer. Well, it all proves too much for poor Nellie. She's just gotta make one last stop. With her last breath, Nellie gets the kid to solid ground. Solid ground in pecker country. They want that core real bad. Just as bad as a kid. Kid shoos him off, knowing they'll be back. Know how many times Kid nearly fell off the barge back there? 8 whole times. Now, listen close. You should remember this next part. Why go to Prosper Bluff? Used to take an enterprising man or a plain old fool to venture out that far. The city was the most beautiful place in the world. We all knew that. But on the other hand, some folks just yearn to see the things they're told they can't. And that's why you go to Prosper Bluff, ain't it? There the kid hears something he ain't heard in a long while. How's it go again? Yeah, that's the one. no point explaining what happens next, right? Suffice it to say, kid ain't coming home empty-handed. And besides, it's like the song goes.
But now you got nowhere to run.
They'll be here before too long. We darn near celebrated when the kid got back, didn't we? Zolf never thought he'd see a fellow or again. We become fast friends. Calamity has that effect on people. But there was more to be done. There was one last core to find. If only I'd known half the secrets of the Calamity were tucked away in that book, I'd have worked to translate it right away. A scientific journal written in Zolf's native tongue. He learned so much from it. Too much. Most of the Ura never got a taste of Caelondia's fine goods, unless they were born and raised in the city like Zia here. Girl tried to run away from home one time, but the marshals stopped that, didn't they? So many secrets in there and she can't even read it. Her father's own journal. Kid's surprised when I tell him there's only one core left. I shouldn't have believed it either. All it takes is some fragments, and the Bastion makes it good as new. I try to let the kid down gently. This is the Bastion, all right. Except no one else showed up. We all lost loved ones in the Calamity, he says. I don't know how I'm gonna go on without mine. The Gravers, the arm of justice. They seemed unstoppable. The Marshals kept the city's peace. They can rest easy now. Ain't never letting go of his old friend with a sturdy grip like that. You want to tune a scrap musket, you start with the barrel. The Marshals learn to pack those shells full of fire. If you're feeling low, count on the buttery flavor of our own Bastion bourbon. We track the final core beyond the city to the wilds. The wild unknown. Place can eat a man alive. Place is so raw, even the Calamity couldn't cook it. Not all of it. Know what's better than having a slinger pistol in a fight? Having two. Savage things lurking at every turn. Good thing pincushions can't see where they're shooting. Pecker's got the core, like they're building a bastion of their own. The welcoming committee scrambles to attention. Didn't expect the kid so soon. They shouldn't have let the guard down. Getting that core was one thing. Getting out's gonna be another. He digs his way out of the clearing, but the wilds won't let him go without a fight. Wallflowers survived the calamity. It toughened him up. Best take it real slow when pincushions are afoot. Slinger Jawson's old outpost is all that's left of him. Kid sticks to his old standbys. A handful of windbag shipments made it out this far. Kid's seen the last of them. Kid's roused up half the wilds by now. Then Kid gets the feeling he's being watched. Not by me, by a lunkhead. And lunkheads ain't fond of two-legged animals. Hit him anywhere but the hindquarters and he only make him mad. He's anxious to get back. After all, he's got the final core. His journey's over, right? Well, no, it ain't. Not by a long shot. Kid knows something's up when we ain't there to give a warm welcome. See, Zolf and I were just wrapping up a heated discussion. Zolf can barely muster the words. The calamity failed, he says. But I will not. And with that, Zolf leaves us here, alone. Zolf cursed the city, cursed the Bastion, cursed me, said he was going home. When Zolf got through reading that journal, he just snapped, started smashing up the monument till I tried to stop him. Zolf banged up the monument pretty bad. But there's a way to put her back together. The shards. We're gonna need all of them to nurse the Bastion back to health. The city brought the shards to the wilds. Now the kid's gonna bring them back. After Zolf's little episode, Kid sets off in search of shards. First stop, Jawson Bog. You'll get lost in that bog, I told the kid, and I won't be able to guide you back. Well, I let him go. What else could I do? What could any of us do? Zolf put us in a real bind. Hurt the Bastion bad. But the shards can make it better. They're like smaller doses of the core's medicine. Shame the only place to fill that prescription is out here in the wilds. This place is intoxicating. Don't know where he's gone. Might be gone for good for all I know. Wherever he is, it's somewhere I've never been. Somewhere I never want to go. there to welcome him with open arms. Kid pops him good. That a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a lonesome ghost of a gas fella. What do you say to a kid who's seen too much? I'm Zolf of the Ura. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Now the kid sees something stranger still. Sure enough, he finds peckers, lunkheads, wallflowers, pincushions, vine apples, swamp weeds, ankle gaiters. There's no way out. Now the Bastion can send him even farther into the wild unknown. Kid sets foot inside one of Ceylondia's famous watering holes. He has the nerve to flash the shield he stole. He's a petty thief. Kid succeeds where the calamity failed. Would you look at what he did to poor old Ronnie the bartender? Proper story is supposed to start at the beginning. It's so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world's alright, snoozing there on a rock in the sky. He wakes up. I'm just fooling. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. He sees what's left of Pith, the bull. The gods, they're all undone. His friend, he's come undone too. He sees what's left undone. Thought we'd lost him, but he finally comes to. The shard ain't lost either. Not anymore. Now to find a ticket out of this hole. Disgusting things. Ever heard of a lung blossom? It's bigger than the stories say. The breath on that thing, like a scumbag sprung a leak. say one whiff of lung blossom can make you lose your mind. Well, the kid prunes it down to size somehow. Hard to get a sure footing in the bog. Mother only knows what happened in the bog. Kid never much cared to speak of it. A shard is like a poor man's core, but beggars can't be choosers. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. Now, whale ale ain't made from real whale, but it'll make you strong like one. The city tried to use the shards to stake out the wilds. So much for that plan. Ankle gators used to roam the wilds, and they nested at Rothus Lagoon. Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. All kinds of beasts what don't know up from down, still lurking about. Even the brushers learned to fear this place. They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? The stinkweed. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Those pin cushions been living off the ankle gator scraps. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. He holds his ground. Seems the queen's running out of options. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. That old gator's right on his tail. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as bait. The shard sitting in plain view. Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running. She's starting to get annoyed. And now he's made her mad. Rest in peace, Queen Anne. That was for the brushers. Kids done what needed to be done. Queen Anne's reign is over. We even got a crown jewel. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. The arsenal's complete in case we need protection. Black rye is like hot pineapple chowder on a cold day. Brings back memories. That gator's a crazy gal, but so is the gal who promised to look after her. To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark. The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds. Know how Caelondia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown. Kid might as well pick up where they left off. Blam! Just like my fighting days. A gun like that can even put the wilds in check. Point Lemaine seen better days for sure. But it ain't done. The whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine, not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rail's all grown over with things the Calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place. Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers coughing fungus everywhere. Of course, the Grand Rails seen much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Ura-Celandian War. It was right here that Zolf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up. Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into swamp weed central. Ever tried dancing side to side while holding your breath? While choking on swamp weed? While peckers trying to prick you in the eye? Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then, at last, it's the end of the line. He'll be picking swamp weed out of those boots for days. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zolf. Turns out he's wrong. This is for you, says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note. That note cuts straight to the heart of things, don't it? It ain't too late to unlock the potential of this place. Finding gourmet ingredients ain't easy these days, but we'll take what we can get. The note says it plain. Zia, go east to learn the truth about the calamity and our people. I'll be waiting. Sincerely, Zulf. Zulf's messenger was one of his people. Wondered just how many of them survived, and what exactly Zulf told him. Ain't saying much, but that's the greatest forge in all the city. That's the way to make every shot count. Want to keep the wilds at bay? Pack yourself a musket and a pike. The shards are getting harder to find. Not everything blew up in the calamity. Why, Colford Cauldron here blew up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. If you wanted to survive something like that, you had to learn to adapt. So in a way, the beasts of the wilds, they're all survivors too. It takes a certain stubborn pride to keep on living in a place like this. As for us, we learned an awful lot from Colford Cauldron. That learning led to some interesting inventions. The raw power of the world fell right into our hands. Fault our people for their natural curiosity now, can you? Playing with the cauldron's fires became an addiction. Sure, we dusted off a good many secrets out here. But we discovered other things we're better off not knowing. The taste of air so hot it sticks to your lungs. All sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. You can cook those things, but you can't eat them. The more ash we swept aside, the more life we found. But still we pressed on. After all, when we looked down inside Colford Cauldron, looked down through all the smoke and flames, we saw in there the heart of the world, the heart now laid bare by the calamity. As for the kid, he just has to get that shard out of there. Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye from here to Jawson Bog. Luckily, the cauldron cooked up a little shortcut for him. Sure, it ain't the most convenient path. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. Well, it ain't polite to stare. And where there's one stink eye, there's always more. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. With a good spyglass, you can still see the cauldron from the city, but all the fires died out. There's nothing left of it. It comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. The shard works like a charm. You can hear the monument's heartbeat again. The memorial may be finished, but our part is far from over. We spotted a pecker carrying a shard to Mount Zan. Can't rightly call Mount Zan the mountain anymore. There's no more mountains now. There's no place left for the beasts of the wild to go. Good thing for those beasts the Calamity saved leftovers. It's a delicate situation. The creatures of the wild, they've been building a bastion of their own. Best thing we can do for those beasts right now is put them down quick and clean. There's only one kind of mercy left these days. What the city left behind, those beasts took for themselves. Look at it this way, it's either them or us. But if we win, they win too. Our bastion is everybody's gain, not just ours. Those beasts been hard at work fixing up the place. They've rounded up their survivors, just like we have. They've been searching for cores and shards, just like we have. Maybe they've thought about turning back, just like we have. We just really need their shard. You don't need to keep tangling with all those things. That's the way. He's done what's best for him, don't you worry. Don't you worry. We'll all be better off once the Bastion is complete. Fixed that thing right up, didn't we? Made these goings-on a little livelier. Suppose it's true a little song can put things in perspective. The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances. Finders keepers. Don't want that thing leaving your hands until you decide it's time. Seems Zia's cooking got the best of him. We could always see the stars. We just never could reach them, no matter how high we built. Sure, the world's all gone to pieces farther than the eye can see, but leave it to this gal to point out the amazing view. Just a couple shards left. The quarry's gotta have one, right? Imagine everything you'd need to build a city like Zealandia. It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes a burstone quarry. We bought the whole place from the Ura on the cheap. The quarry ain't exactly up to safety standards no more. Same goes for its natives, Rattletails. Rattletails ain't the worst of it either, but more about that in a little bit. The quarry came with a lifetime supply of windbags. Not only are these rocks a source of life, we found that the oldest ones remember things. They're recording everything, all the time, taking it all in. No wonder all those beasts were drawn to the quarry. The rocks were calling them. Keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. Rattletails kept tunneling in to snack on windbags. Without those windbags, the quarry might not have its special qualities. Even stink eyes started taking root in here. Now why would the Ura sell off such a fascinating place? Might be the gods told him the quarry's bad news. In any case, it's fair to say the quarry was a godsend. Those rocks, all polished to a mirror sheen, the largest ones, you know as cores. The smaller ones, we call them shards. Well, now the quarry's all dried up. These rocks are much too young to be of use. Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry? That honor goes to a beast we took to Colin. Sir Lunky. Massive things stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. The only thing harder than the rocks in Bastion quarry is Sir Lunky's head. We never could get stubborn old Lunky to leave the quarry alone. Then the kid hears a voice calling from down the hall. "Are you all right?" it says. It's him. "I've come to warn you," he says. "The Bastion is under siege. Let it fall. You should not go back." Kid hears him, but he ain't about to be deterred. "If that's the way it is," he says, "then I won't stop you. Because my countrymen will." Say what you will about Zulf, but he's a man of his word. His countrymen don't much care for pleasantries, though. They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go in through the back. Zulf showed him the way here, and here they came to take revenge. To make matters worse, seems the Ura took the girl. Unfortunately, they broke in, and they started digging their holes. Something wrong sprung out of those holes, and it's eating away at this place. We tried to stop it, but we needed help. Somehow, some way, he sends those Ura packing. Problem is, it didn't matter. Zulf's plan worked. We find each other as the dust settles. Then I tell him why the Ura came. To get us back for the calamity. It was Ceylandia's master plan to wipe the Ura out. But part of that plan backfired, didn't it? If only Zulf knew the whole story. What were we to think? They must have got her, taken her back to her rightful home. The shards can put this disease in remission. But there's only one cure. We need to finish what we started. The culture, a still life of old unwanted keepsakes. The mercy, the windbags ain't the only beast that drew a bad lot. The brushers, they moved in shadows, but the calamity found them. Seems the gods recommended this place to all their friends. Now all we need is one last shard. last shard. It's all we need to put this mess behind us. And mother, what a mess it is. A mess like that could have only been made by hand. Zolf said the calamity failed, and he's right. The Ura stand as living proof of that. At the heart of the calamity was a simple idea. We never wanted to go to war again. Wanted to rule it out. We put a lot of folks against that problem. Scientists, soldiers, spies, even me. We sought solutions far beyond the city. We traveled near as far as the kids go right now. Most of our efforts didn't bear fruit. Then there was a breakthrough, but it didn't come from one of our people. It came from an Ura, a brilliant young scientist named Ven. Ven worked for the Mancers, the sharpest knives in the city's drawer. With his help, the Mancers devised a way to seal the Ura tunnels shut. In a flash, just like that, every last Ura living in the Tassel terminals will be gone. This discovery was never to be used, they said, except as a last resort. But Ven didn't like being manipulated. He had plans of his own. He sabotaged the Mancer's little science project, set it to blow up in their faces. But remember, the Bastion can fix everything. We just need that shard. Too bad the Ura ain't exactly been willing to collaborate on that front. For now, Kid had little choice but to pick up where the calamity left off. First things first, though, there's someone we figured needed rescuing. Zia. The Ura fell back, no doubt planning the next move. but we knew ours already. There's something we had to do before going after that last shard. Well, now it's personal, ain't it? It's personal for him, and it's personal for me. He gets straight down to business. He gets his hands on the care package I sent him. It's a little something I've been fixing up in my spare time. The Ura found a way to keep the calamity from spreading through Sultan's Hollow. They got their own security and everything. Pretty fancy, even. They've got these conductors that are all what's keeping the place together. You break enough of those things and the calamity rocks slink back into the ground. Well, the Ura must be in a panic right about now. Kid's done using the calamity's power for now, but the Ura ain't finished. They even sick their little rattletail pets on the kid. By now, every Ura from here to the terminals must know he's in town. They're easy targets. Those calamity rocks must be eating that place apart from the inside. The Ura keep hanging on to that barricade. After all, their homeland's not much farther. They underestimated us. Had us pegged all wrong. It's not the time to get reckless. Yes, our people caused the calamity, but here we are trying to fix it. That makes us different from our people now, don't it? Did the Ura really think we'd just turn around and walk away? Some of them are downright bewildered by what's happening. kids picking the whole place apart, piece by piece. Suppose old Zolf should have got to know us better. Maybe I should have trusted him, told him everything I knew. As the hour grows desperate, the Ura bring out their big guns. There's nothing standing in his way no more. All those dreams snuffed out in the calamity. We'll bring them back. Way out there on the edge of the world, that's where he finally finds you. But it ain't like Prosper Bluff this time. Ain't nothing for this gal to sing about now. Zia, you weren't kidnapped. No, ma'am. You just had to see what happened to the Ura. To your own people. You had to see if everything Zolf wrote to you was true. Sure you didn't drop that twangy thing on purpose? Just to see if he'd go after you? They lost everything, didn't they? But they just keep on fighting like that's gonna bring it all back. I don't need to see what happened to the Ura. I'm trying to undo it, remember? Stay absinthe is like drinking a cool breeze. Just don't go spitting needles everywhere. It wasn't fixed, it was unbroken. We're all a little short on friends these days, so that's a welcome sight. The country, she's all to pieces now, but still looking good. The sanctuary, if we can build, we can rebuild. The conscience, we haven't lost everything, long as we have that. They said the wild could never be tamed, if only they could see us now. Gotta make sure the pointy end's fastened on real tight. First step to learning the Calamity Cannon is knowing about the machinery overrides. That mortar's gonna leave a lasting impression. Even the army never issued carbines in such fine shape. Takes a lot of moving pieces to make a dependable sidearm. A sail hammer's only as strong as its spine. That's a strong spine. Once the kid gets that last shard from Zolf, it'll all be over. I can't hear him at all anymore. He's too far away. But he'll be all right. The Calamity hit the Tazzle terminals hardest of all. You know why Zolf went back there. All his old friends and family were there. Taken by the Calamity. Zolf must be there all alone, just waiting. You know what's funny? We're waiting. All of us are waiting for a kid. Look around. There's not much left to do here in the Bastion, I'm afraid. So why not tell each other stories to pass the time, right? But Zia, there's another reason I've been telling you all this. When the kid brings back that shard, the Bastion will be complete. This disease the Earth planet here will go away. Zealandia will be whole again. Everything will be back to normal. Everyone will be all right. Problem is, we'll all be gone. Oh, we're not gonna die. It's more like all of this will just stop. Things will go back to the way they used to be. This whole place is a living record of the times before the Calamity. You be your old self again. Think of all those times that didn't go your way. All of life's little setbacks. Imagine if you could have another go at them. mistakes. Anyone you've ever hurt. You follow me? Everything you've ever done, you could do it over. And wouldn't that be grand? Well, I guess there's nothing more to say. Who am I kidding? Look. There's something else. A confession. How come I know so much about the Bastion? Well, I designed the place, but that's beside the point. There's one problem with a place that sets things back to a bygone time. You can't test it. So you're probably wondering if the calamity happened already. What's to stop it from happening again after the Bastion does its thing? The answer is... I don't know. You're wondering if there ain't some other way out of this mess. It's all right. I can tell. But why would you even want another way? Unless you wanted to stay here with us. Well, that's sweet and all, but I don't know if I can stick around. The weight of the calamity, it's on our shoulders. We can't just let it go. Bastion does have another function. Strictly speaking, if ever the monument blew out and we couldn't repair it, we could still evacuate. First, we'd round up as many folks as we could carry. Next, we'd detonate the cores and we'd take off away from here. Of course, that would mean no going back. Ever. But then again, that way all of us could leave the city. Together. You know Zolf and his countrymen won't be giving up that shard without a fight, don't you? Zolf and the Ura. All they want now is to see the Bastion fall. He can't have imagined the city would try to wipe the Ura out. Zolf ain't lost every shred of decency though, has he? He tried to warn you about his plans. He tried to warn the kid. For Zolf, this ain't a personal matter. It ain't a simple matter of pride either. One thing's for sure, the Ura can't be happy that the kid followed Zolf all the way home. I can see it now. The kid in one corner, and Zolf in the other. Ain't much of a fight. Don't you worry, though. Once the Bastion's restored, it'll all be alright. You ain't still thinking about that whole leaving the city thing, are you?
Take me back to my home, sweet home. Lie on my back, clouds are making way for me. I'm coming home, sweet home. I see your star, you left it burning for me. Mother, I'm here. Eyes open wide, feel your heart and it's
Kid's probably dealt with Zolf by now. It reminds me of myself when I was his age. I ever tell you about those days? Hey, kid. Get up, kid. Come on, that ain't funny. I say get up. That's more like it. Now, set that shard into the monument there. Then we'll talk. The Bastion. It's finally finished. Now, There's something I want you to see. Welcome to the heart of the Bastion. I ain't one for long goodbyes, so here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions. Hey, kid. You can undo the calamity here and now. Go on, kid. And before I forget, thank you. Always wondered what the motherland was like. Not that it matters anymore. Zolf only brought more ruin to the Ura. No wonder they didn't take kindly to him. You've got one thing left to do, so you hang on to that badge. Besides, you earned it. Don't let anything you've done get to you. You can save all those creatures here and now.
You made it. So, let's see. You can either prevent the calamity, or stick around with me and Rex. I'd hate to be in your shoes. If I could be any place I wanted, I'd stay right here. We could go anywhere in the world. Zolf tried to talk me into joining him. I tried to talk him out of it. I guess we both failed. When I finally found my people, I told them we could help. They just took me for a traitor. Glad you showed up. Any moment I'd want to live again happened after the calamity, not before.
Oh, mother. And here I figured you'd had enough of me by now. You could have undone the calamity itself, but instead you want to stay in a world like this. I gotta admit, kid, I ain't yet put much thought in that idea of carrying on with you here. We can't go back no more, but I suppose we could go wherever we please. And if anyone's left out there, I sure would like to see the look in their faces when we dock this thing right on their doorstep. Getting ahead of myself, though. I'm gonna need a first mate. What do you say?